Two major trades involving the NL Central have gone down today. How does one of them in particular affect the Cardinals and one of their possible trade pieces?
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Hafford, and I'm your host for Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. You can follow me on Twitter, X, at JD Sports Radio, and the podcast at LO_Cardinals. We want to thank those of you who make Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. We're also free and available on YouTube. If you haven't stopped by yet, please do like, subscribe, comment, hit that notification button so you know when the new episodes are posted. This is a show serving Cardinal Nation and only Cardinal Nation and giving the best fans in baseball all of the info about the birds on the bat. Today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. So we had some trades go down today in the NL Central. Obviously, there have been plenty of trade rumors that have been circulating since the winter meetings began involving teams from the NL Central. For the Cardinals, Nolan Arenado's name obviously continues to be brought up a ton. Ryan Helsley, Eric Fetty, and I guess we've got some wishful thinking that somebody somewhere might want to come get Miles Mikolas and Steven Matz off the roster of the Cardinals at some point. Don't hold your breath, but nothing has happened with the Cardinals at all. Nothing at all. Although the rest of the division has been kind of busy. Pirates have made a deal to bring in Spencer Horowitz, who went from the Blue Jays to the Guardians and then to the Pirates. The Cubs got Kyle Tucker today for 3 players, including Isaac Paredes. So we're going to talk about that deal a little bit later on. The Reds were able to swing a deal early on involving the Royals with Jonathan India. And we're apparently in on the Garrett Crochet talks. So they were interested in trying to pull him from the White Sox. And now the Brewers made this huge deal today by sending one of the best closers in baseball and St. Louis native Devin Williams to the New York Yankees in exchange for pitchers Nestor Cortez, infield prospect Caleb Durbin, and cash considerations. Williams was he went to one of my old rivalries as a kid growing up in St. Louis. Went to Hayeswood West. I'm a Pattonville product. Go Pirates. So not Pittsburgh, by the way. Pattonville Pirates. That's right. Williams is now 30 years old. Was the NL Rookie of the Year back in 2020, 2-time NL Reliever of the Year in 2021, and then again in 2023. Last year, he did miss a big chunk of time due to stress fractures in his back, but when he returned, looked pretty darn good outside of, the hiccup in the playoffs. But during the regular season, 22 appearances, 14 saves, the ERA 1.25. The whip was under 1, ERA plus of 3.41. Strikeouts per night at 15.8. The dude is an absolute beast. There's really nothing negative to say about Devin Williams. People, I was seeing comments today going, well, how long can you throw the screwball and how long is this changeup going to last and blah, 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 blah. I don't know. Fernando Valenzuela threw a very long time as a screwball pitcher, but I don't know. I mean, obviously the back issues last year are something you were like, kind of like, oh, that's not good, but he was pretty darn good. And in the postseason, I remember going over the film, and I believe we talked about it on Locked On Cardinals about how he might have been tipping his pitches. The Mets kind of knew what was coming and were able to knock him around in that playoff series. And the Mets end up moving on. Milwaukee goes home. But we're comparing Devin Williams and Ryan Helsley right now in the situations that both of them are in. Helsley, also 30, NL Reliever of the Year this past season. Very healthy this year, which was great. Made a career-high 65 appearances. Finished 62 games for the Cardinals this year. They won 83, and he made 65 appearances. And it wasn't very often that he was coming in if they weren't tied or winning. So league-high 49 saves. ERA of 2.04, whip at 1.101, the ERA plus at 2.06, strikeouts per 9 at 10.7. An absolute unit, right? He's a stud too. What they have in common outside of both being excellent relievers and being around the same age there is that each of them have 1 year left before they hit free agency. And that's why you've been hearing their names mentioned in trade talks, and the Brewers just happened to pull the trigger first on a deal with the New York Yankees, who will give up Nestor Cortez, who also just turned 30, 9-10 this past year. 30 starts for the Yankees. The ERA at 3.77, ERA plus of 109. Nothing spectacular, but a solid pitcher, right? This is, when you've got to have a 5-man rotation, a guy like Nestor Cortez, nice little 3, 4, or 5 there in the rotation for you. Had his best year in 2022, but this past season, it's not like he was garbage or something for the Yankees. He was fine. Contract-wise, Cortez is also going to hit free agency after the season. So people wonder, why would the Brewers do this if he's going to make a decent amount of money this year? And then he's going to be a free agent. What are the Brewers thinking? I don't have an answer for you there. I don't exactly know why this was the deal that they decided they wanted. The prospect they got in return, Caleb Durbin, who, by the way, went to WashU, is about to turn 25, plays all over the infield, but not a big guy, 5'6", 185 pounds. Hit a combined 275 with 10 dingers and 60 ribbies and 31 stolen bases last year, mostly at AAA. He does have some very good wheels, had a strong Arizona Fall League showing, hitting 312, 5 dingers, 21 ribbies, and 29 stolen bases, which I believe is the record for the Arizona Fall League. So more speed for the Brewers, who love to run the bases and love to steal bases. We know how they like to run. And they get a new lefty for their starting rotation. And they also got some money back. I think $4.5 million is what I saw earlier. So my question for you, and the reason I'm talking about it in detail like this is, I'll ask you, if the Cardinals got those two pieces and that amount of cash in return for Ryan Helsley, if that was a deal that they agreed to, how would you feel about that return? Would you be happy with it? And I realize that clearly the situations are a little bit different because the Cardinals don't need a Nestor Cortez right now. That's not what they would be seeking if they were to trade Ryan Helsley. They've got enough starters, we think. But hypothetically, if a starter of his caliber with 1 year remaining on his deal and a prospect in the range of Durbin, who I don't believe was in the Yankees top 30. I believe he was set to crack the top 30 this year, should be in the top 30 for the Brewers this year. But if you were to get a prospect of his caliber and cash in return, how would you react to that deal as a Cardinals fan? And I think that most fans would be unhappy with that return, that they wouldn't like that so much and feel like they got shafted a little bit. And so the reason I bring this up is so if those are the kind of offers, if that's the best the Brewers were getting, that was the best deal they could get, it makes you wonder what the Cardinals were getting, what kind of deals that they were being offered. And it kind of, if it was that or maybe even less, because let's be honest, over the last few years, Devin Williams has been the better closer. So if they were getting less than what the Brewers just received, if those were the kind of offers they were getting, and with the idea that you're not blowing up this roster and this team, you're not expecting to compete for a world championship this year, but at the same time, it's not like you're going to be the White Sox or you're going to be the Marlins this past year. That's not the idea. So if you're not going to blow things up, you're not rebuilding from the ground up, you can see why they've been leading towards keeping Ryan Helsley instead of trading him. If that indeed is the market for an upper echelon closer right now. And if you have this belief that you're going to be a competitive ball club next year and you believe in these young players, which they seem to do, then having Helsley at the back end of your bullpen is one hell of a luxury to hang on to. Now, there's another reason to this, because when we've talked about trading Ryan Helsley this offseason, there's hey, his worth is probably not going to be any more than it is right now. But now we're seeing that the market might have been kind of crappy. So who's to say another team doesn't call, now? I mean, it could happen. Maybe somebody like the Phillies could get something done with Nato and Helsley that includes the Phillies and maybe a third team for Alec Boehm, just kind of spitballing ideas here, but that could be something that gets brought up. We're still waiting on Alex Bregman to choose his destination. But if the Cardinals decide, hey, we're just not going to move Helsley and we'd rather hang on to him until the deadline next year, Obviously, he'd be a guy that people would still want if he's having a year like he just did in 2024, because go look at what Tanner Scott was worth to the Padres. The Marlins said Tanner Scott was having an excellent year, and they traded him. The Padres gave up their number 2, number 4, number 5, and number 24 prospect to get Tanner Scott and another pitcher, Brian Hoeing. Door number 1 or door number 2 on the trade offers? Would you rather have the Nestor Cortez and the Caleb Durbin and some cash, or number 2, number 4, number 5, and number 24 coming your way? I think I'll take door number 2. I think you would too. And the reliever market still has a lot of names out there. That's the thing. Tanner Scott is still out there. Jeff Hoffman, who had a big year for the Phillies, is still out there. David Robertson, who just never seems to age. He's just constantly good. He's a guy I wanted the Cardinals to go after last year. Still out there. Kenley Jansen, one of the most successful closers in history, still out there. Carlos Estevez, still available. So there's a lot of guys still out there that teams don't have to give up any prospects to sign if they want them. So that's how this relief pitcher market is kind of shaping up. So you can see why the Cardinals were, okay, whoa. We thought we were going to get a whole lot better than this. And if that's not the case, then we're not just going to give him up. We're not just trading him to trade him. We can afford Ryan Helsley if we want to. It's not that we were just thought maybe that would be good business. But if these are the offers you're getting, then I can see why they decided, we're good. We'll hang on to him. Leave me your thoughts and your comments down below, considering what the Brewers just got in return for Devin Williams. Is it smart for the Cardinals to hang on to Helsley, or do you still want them to move him right now and just be done with it and get it over with? Let me know in the comments section. We're going to talk about the miraculous job by the Cardinals in getting the number 5 pick in the 2025 draft. And we've got our first mock draft out, which is great because Cardinals are inside the top 5, which means probably going to get a pretty good player. And our first mock draft from the MLB pipeline is out. We're going to go over it, and I'll tell you who they think the Cardinals will take next on Locked On Cardinals. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, and it's all in one place. Last night's game was a stinker, unless you had somebody like Puka Nacua. If you had Cooper Kupp last night, you were so mad. You're in shambles today. Nothing, a 0, a donut. Nobody on the 49ers did much either, so that was unfortunate. But when you get a hunch in the middle of a game and you're starting to see they're looking at Puka Nacua a lot, maybe you go look at some bets on him. You can check out those latest stats and view live play-by-play and so much more on the same page where you actually place your bets. Very convenient. Go to FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. You can leave your comments on YouTube as well as on Twitter X anytime you want. That feedback always welcome and encouraged. So the lottery for the MLB draft order was earlier this week, and the Cardinals lucked out big time. I watched it for the second straight year, and normally I don't because Cardinals are usually in contention for anything cool. But this time it was very entertaining because they ended up landing the 5th overall pick last year. It was actually a bit of a disappointment to fall to number 7, considering how bad the record was and everything. But being able to get J.J. Weatherholt there at number 7 might end up being a huge steal for the franchise. If you remember, some people thought J.J. could go number 1 overall. He falls all the way to number 7 to the Cardinals, who snag him, and now he's the number 1 prospect in our system, 18th overall in baseball, hitting .295, 2 home runs, 20 RBIs in 29 games at Palm Beach. So the Cardinals get to scooch up couple of spots this year and draft in the top 5 for the first time since 1998. Do you remember who they took at number 5 in 1998? It was a pretty big name at the time. J.D. Drew. J.D. Drew out of Florida State. Remember, he was drafted by the Phillies. didn't sign, wanted more money, and the Cardinals take him in the next draft when he was eligible again, take him at number 5, and he ends up having a very good career. Didn't have the career that we thought he was going to have. Most people thought he just had superstar written all over him, and it didn't end up working out quite that way. But, the Cardinals were able to use J.D. Drew to go and make acquisitions, and, that worked out kind of nicely for the Cardinals, right? So it's also the first time in franchise history they're actually going to have back-to-back top 10 selections, and that wasn't supposed to be the case. They were projected to get number 13. Their odds were not good. It was like 0.082% or something to get the number 1 pick, but the balls bounced their way. And here we are with the top 5 picks. So what are some of the names, or who are some of the names, I should say, who the Cardinals might be able to draft at number 5 overall? Consensus number 1 overall pick is, and it just appears to be, I'm sure there's a way that he might not go, but it more than likely is going to be 17-year-old infielder Ethan Holliday. Yes, another Holliday, the little brother of Jackson, son of Matt, will likely go to the Washington Nationals at number 1 overall. He's when it comes to prospects, he's bigger than Jackson was as far as like tall, 6'4". He's more like his dad. He's like stronger built wise than Jackson was at this point of his career. So most people think he's another can't miss product that shortstop, third baseman is where they've got him projected at right now. Number 2, MLB Pipeline has the Angels selecting outfielder Jace Laviolette out of Texas A&M. He's 21 years old, big dude, 6'6", 230 pounds. He hit .305, 29 bombs, 78 ribbies last year in 68 games. So obviously that's tremendous power. That's a big dude right there. So it'd be nice to see somebody like that wearing a Cardinal uniform, but they got him going at number 2 overall to the Angels. At number 3 is when we start getting into the pitchers. The Mariners, they have them selecting right-handed pitcher Tyler Bremner out of UC Santa Barbara, also going to be 21 this year, 11-1, 2.54 ERA in 19 appearances. 9 of those were starts. He had a strikeouts per 9 of 10.6. At number 4, the Rockies, they have them selecting left-handed pitcher Jamie Arnold out of Florida State. He will also turn 21 this coming year. 11-3, 2.98 ERA in 19 appearances. 18 of those were starts, but his strikeouts per 9 a little bit higher at 13.5. But, lefty, they kind of have it where he could end up being number 3 or number 4, but they think those are the top 2 pitchers that are going to go in this year's draft. And then we come to the Cardinals at number 5, which obviously the Cardinals are kind of one of those best player available type of draft people. Last year, obviously, J.J. Weatherholt was high on their board, so they got him at number 7. And at number 5 here, MLB Pipeline has the Cardinals selecting outfielder Brendan Summerhill from Arizona, which is the same school that former first-round pick Chase Davis went to. Now, the interesting part about this, because they give you who they think they would take, and then they also tell you, like, where they rank among the draft prospects this year. They actually have Summerhill as the number 10 prospect. So they have the Cardinals reaching for Summerhill at number 5 overall. 21 years old, 6'3", 205, hit .324 with 8 home runs and 59 RBIs and 7 stolen bases in 58 games. Nothing about that really jumps off the page at you, right? Here's what the scouts say about him. Summerhill sports one of the sweetest left-handed strokes in the draft, which you like to hear that, and could develop into a center fielder with 5 solid or better tools. Earned all Pac-12 honors and led the team in average, on-base percentage, and extra base hits as a sophomore in 24. Then turned in an all-star performance in the Cape Cod League. Ended up hitting .286 there with 2 home runs, 14 RBIs, and 12 stolen bases in 24 games. Considered by many to be the best player in the Four Corners region, Summerhill is a strong and athletic left-handed hitter who has the chance to be a dynamic player on both sides of the ball. He's shown a very good approach at the plate, walking nearly as often as he strikes out in 2024 and limiting the swing and miss that some area scouts saw from him during his time in the Chicago high school ranks. Still, he'll have to work on his tendency to chase at the next level. He's just starting to tap into his raw power, and it's showing up right now mostly to his pull side. He has the, Summerhill spent the fall playing right field for the Wildcats. He has the arm and run production potential to profile there. But while he's seen time at all three outfield spots, he might have more value in center field, where he played exclusively on the Cape. That would put a little less pressure on the power to come, but regardless of where he is on the grass, he has the chance to be an everyday outfielder at the next level with a Jake McCarthy-like profile. Jake McCarthy, in case you're not aware, another former first-round pick of the Arizona Diamondbacks, 85 with 8 home runs, 56 RBIs this past year for Arizona. Kind of familiar stat-wise there. I don't know why they have the Cardinals reaching for an outfielder there. As soon as I saw it, I was like, what? Why would they do that? Like, why would you go chase a guy who you have ranked 5 guys lower than that spot? It was a little bizarre to me. And maybe it was just for mock fun, because sometimes they do that, I guess. But they're more intriguing names that I thought inside their top 10 prospects than this guy. Like 18-year-old right-handed pitcher Seth Hernandez, 5th-ranked prospect, already throws 98 in high school. Okay, I like that. What about the 17-year-old who arguably has the coolest name of the prospects that I was reading through? 6'8" lefty, Cruz Schoolcraft is his name. Isn't that awesome? Cruz Schoolcraft. Fastball, 97. He's 6'8". He's left-handed. Why wouldn't you take somebody like that over? We got an okay outfielder. Like, it was bizarre. So those are a couple other names to think about. But when you look at some of the top 5 prospects, there could be some shuffling there, and things could fall differently. So we'll see what the Cardinals do. We got a long way before the MLB draft. That's in June. So plenty of time for things to change, and I'm sure they will. Let's talk about the Cubs and the big trade that they made today. Obviously, it has ramifications inside the division. Kyle Tucker from the Houston Astros going to be a Chicago Cub now. We'll talk about that and the other latest news and rumors from around the league next on Locked On Cardinals. There's not a whole lot of things better, at least in my opinion, than going to a live sporting event, whether it is baseball, basketball, hockey, football. The Gametime app is where I go. It's where you should go to when you're trying to find tickets to all of your favorite sporting events, whether it's going to a Blues game. They've been playing so much better under Jim Montgomery. Although last night's game was kind of a stinker against San Jose. I don't know what their problem is with the Sharks. Like, they always seem to just kind of be a pain in the butt. But going to a Blues game right now, obviously an exciting time as they play better and start to look more like a playoff team. SLU basketball, Mizzou basketball, upsetting Kansas recently, Southern Illinois. Killer last-minute deals on the Gametime app. They've got the all-in prices. They give you the views from your seat and their lowest price guarantee. Gametime just takes the guesswork out of buying tickets to all of your favorite sporting events. And it's not just sporting events, though. Concerts as well. If you want to go see your favorite band or your favorite pop artist, whoever it may be, country star, they got tickets for that too. They got tickets to go to comedy shows, to the theater. It's all available on the Gametime app. So if you haven't checked it out, you ought to do it. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB. That's LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thank you again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen today. For your second listen, I encourage you to go check out Locked On MLB with our guy Sully. Brings you a daily blend of humor and baseball, get you updated on all the stuff going on during this offseason. You can find Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. So 2 big trades today, as I mentioned, both of them involving teams from the NL Central. Yankees and Brewers come together on that trade for Devin Williams. And then you got the Cubs landing Kyle Tucker, which happened later in the afternoon. We've already kind of talked about the Devin Williams deal and how that affects the Cardinals. Let's talk about this Cubs-Astros deal, man. Kyle Tucker, good ball player, going to Chicago in exchange for third baseman Isaac Paredes, right-handed pitcher Hayden Wesneski, and number 73 overall prospect third baseman Cam Smith. Now, last season, if you remember, Tucker got hurt when he was playing the Cardinals. Tucker was limited to 78 games due to a small fracture in his right shin, but still managed to post a 4.7 WAR, slash line of 289, 408, 585 with 23 home runs and 49 RBIs. More walks than strikeouts, which is always nice. Had 56 of those, struck out 54 times. Made his third straight All-Star team for the Astros. Returned from the shin injury in early September. Hit 365 with a 1.041 OPS in 18 games down the stretch. Spent his whole career in Houston. So why would the Astros want to give up on this guy? Well, it is because he's going to be a free agent. All right. He's Gold Glover, Silver Slugger winner in 23, fifth in voting in the American League MVP in 2023. But he's going to be a free agent. The Cubs currently got Cody Bellinger, who they're paying a butt ton to. Seiya Suzuki also in right field. So those are the two guys that they kind of got slotted for the DH role and for playing right field. Bellinger, I mean, he could play some first base too. That's something he could do. But they've been talking about trades with them as well. And the thought was if the Cubs went out and did make a move to bring somebody in like Kyle Tucker, that would mean Bellinger was going to be shipped out to somebody. Some people thought maybe that would be part of the trade, is that Houston would get Bellinger and they would get Tucker. But that is not the case. But Bellinger and Suzuki both subject of trade rumors so far this offseason. So it is possible Tucker's arrival could mean more moves coming for the Cubs. But that was a big one, man. Kyle Tucker's a good ball player, but in his final year of his deal. So I would be shocked if he didn't test free agency unless the Cubs decide to, give him some massive extension deal, which is totally a possibility. It could happen, but yeah, Kyle Tucker in the division now. That kind of sucks. He's a really good ball player. But again, we're seeing a lot of moves being made by teams in the NL Central. And then we have our Cardinals who are just kind of tapping their fingers. They're like, all right. But again, part of it's not because they don't want to make deals or something like that. But the names that are being moved around and stuff, like these are upper tier players where the guys, the Cardinals, would probably make a move with are down here a little bit. It's sad as it is. Nolan Arenado is not a top priority in baseball right now. It's tops for us, but Alex Bregman is the name. Isaac Paredes getting moved to Houston here. That takes another spot away. So, Houston clearly, I shouldn't say clearly, but preparing to move on from Alex Bregman. Maybe negotiations aren't going so well, and he could sign at any moment. We'll check the phone here to see if we've got anything new. I'm not seeing anything about Bregman at the moment, but, now that they're going to get a third baseman in there and Paredes, who's a dead pull hitter and is probably going to mash. Think about him for fantasy, by the way, fantasy baseball next year. That could be a nice little setup. So Bregman's probably on the move if they're going to do this. So we'll keep an eye on that. And then, then hopefully something with Arenado will come down the pipeline here real soon. Again, if you remember Mo's timeline about all of this, he said, probably not anything going to get done by the winter meetings when they wrap up, which they did on Wednesday. But he said probably by Christmas that they should have something done. And if you're looking at it, we're 12 days out from Christmas. So be on the lookout. Be on the lookout. We're going to be right there for you each and every day covering this stuff until something gets done. So thank you again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. If you haven't already, give us a follow on Twitter, X at LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio. Like, subscribe on YouTube and help our love and our channel grow. You guys are the best fans of baseball for a reason. I'll see you next time on Locked On Cardinals.